Hello and welcome back for our next installment of Holistic Security Isn't What You Think It Is in terms of how I define it. This is our third post in the series. If you haven't seen the other two posts, I would encourage you to go back and watch it because I cover what holistic security is not and also what holistic security is. And as we go into this example today, I think that the other two videos would be very helpful. To begin, the example that I'm going to provide, I think, is a great example for holistic security for those that are in more office environments. If you go back to video 2 and you go all the way to the end, I think that that's a great example that every, particularly security leader, can relate to. It was 2015, and I was working at the US Open. I wanted to have this opportunity because I was already working on this idea of a holistic framework. And what I needed to understand was, is it applicable in every environment? So it was really started off as a question, a form of curiosity, and I needed a hypothesis. Basically, I needed to have some sort of information that can help me to steer me in the continued research that I was doing. And in this particular year, 2015, was a huge year because it was expected that Serena Williams was going to get another Grand Slam title and have the most in history. She was playing against Roberta Vinci in the semifinals, where she lost. So on this particular day, in this particular moment, it was extremely intense, as you can imagine. That there was a lot of disappointment and sadness for Serena. I felt the heartbreak myself, but I could only imagine what she was feeling. So when this happened, she walked off of the court and she walked into the media room. Now, during this time, all I could think was, is she safe? And it was, none of this is planned, right? Like, you just couldn't plan any of this. But in this moment, all I could think was, is she safe? So I start to go back to the 3 questions I mentioned in the previous video. Number 1, can everyone thrive in this environment? And the answer to that was yes. I felt she can thrive in this environment. The second question, how can we increase human resilience? And I thought, yeah, I feel like we can maybe do some of that right now. The third question was, who is most vulnerable? And to me, it was no doubt that she was in a vulnerable place. So after this loss, she went immediately into the media room. And when she did that, I was standing just outside the media room. Again, from this perspective, I just wanted to ensure that she had everything that she needed from a security perspective, that she felt safe, that she felt protected, and that whatever vulnerability that she felt, she knew that she was supported. When she got up after being in the media room for only what felt like less than a minute, and she started to come out, I was right there. And being right there, she needed to be escorted to her next location. And so I started to take her to the area where all players have to go after they finish a match. And when she went inside the room, the door shut. And when the door shut, a few seconds later, the healthcare practitioner opened the door and said, she wants to know you're going to be here when she gets out. And I immediately said yes. And when that happened, it let me know a couple of things. 1, she noticed that I was there. 2, she noticed that I was part of the security team. And 3, she seemed to be looking, or at least have a curiosity about that sense of safety, right? By asking if I would be there when she got out. Now, in the end, I wasn't there. The security team that was with her came and they took over. But nonetheless, the question that I went into that tournament with of, can holistic security survive and thrive in every environment? The answer for me unequivocally was yes. And this is an environment, right, where yes, cybersecurity threats are huge, but clearly physical security threats are huge, right? And so you're already looking at an environment that is clearly focused in a holistic way to begin with. But when we start to pull back those layers and we start to really focus on that human-centered piece, which is what holistic security is in terms of how I define it and our consciously secure framework, we can start to see how and where these different areas can truly have an impact and make a difference. And so for me, this was certainly a turning point in this work. And what I can also say is typically the people that we work with from a holistic security standpoint, they tend to be people like that. People who are public facing, people that tend to have more of a public presence in the media, people that have high levels of responsibility and are looking for additional security to meet their needs, because the traditional methods of security isn't necessarily providing them everything that they desire. And I thought that this was a great example of that. So with that, if you have any questions about that, please let me know. This was a really brief example, told very, very quickly. There's lots of in and outs of this that I didn't address. But if you have questions, let me know. And I hope this really does help to give a bit more of an insight into holistic security. And also, you can see why I say it's not always what you think it is. And it's not because of how we approach it in this more human-centered way. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.